It is an absolutely cracking Sunday morning. And just out working with Tiny and Daisy teaspoons. And the one thing that you always hope for when you're dry blowing, apart from gold and minimal breakdowns, is steady breeze. And we've got that this morning. It's a nice easterly, nice and steady. The normal fare is that you set up and you'll have an easterly for an hour, and then it'll go to a straight southerly and maybe back to an easterly just to confuse you, off to a westerly. And basically do anything to make your life miserable. Now maybe that's being a little bit negative, but it just seems, well, for me anyway, that seems to be the way things transpire. We've got Tiny running like an absolute champion now. I got the gold recovery where I want it. I'm not really pushing much above the sort of 15, 20 cubes an hour. It doesn't need any more than that. The thing to remember with dry blowing is like any mineral processing, if you've got 20 tonnes going in, you've also got 20 tonnes going out. And unless you've got elaborate stacker conveyors, which we don't even worry about that on the big girl, on Debbie. But basically, if you've got a 20 cube an hour machine, you have to deal with 40. And that's sort of what people forget. Oopsies. One of the things I love about dry blowing is, potentially anyway, the efficiency of it. Tiny has the same failings that pretty much every dry blower I've ever seen has, and that is it doesn't prepare the material well enough for the dry blower to recover the gold. And the opinions I have are only ever my opinions, obviously, and they often vary from other people's opinions, but I can only go on my experience. And a lot of people talk about the difference between bellows and constant air. And me personally, I don't think it makes much of a difference. What does make a difference is that the dirt is prepared, it goes through a scrubber and is presented to the recovery devices, which are the riffle trays, in such a manner that physics can do its job and the heavies can drop out. And the fact is that if you're careful, recovering gold with a dry blower is quite easy. With Debbie, our big girl, which has a scrubber trommel attached, and maybe one day I'll do some more videos on her and go through some of the theory behind it, but basically putting material through a scrubber means that the gold has nowhere to hide. And if you bash up all the little bits of dirt and crap that's on a little piece of gold, then the specific gravity starts working in your favour in relation to its surface area and everything else, your airflow. One day I'll draw you some pictures if you need it. Basically catching the gold's pretty simple. Tiny doesn't have that, but probably when I get a rainy week, I've got an old scrubber trommel in the yard which I might rebuild and tack it onto the end of this, because even though you're running more things that can go wrong, 2 more conveyors, feed hopper, trommel, it's well worth it. It's well worth it. With the training courses we run, I've been thinking about doing some workshop on earth moving and dry blowing and that sort of thing. Whether there's the market for that, I don't know. I know that there's no dry blowers on the market, that's for sure. Everyone's trying to get into it. Because very few people have got much of an idea about it. And the thing to remember is it's not just running a dry blower. And it's one of the things that I love about prospecting is that basically you're an exploration company, you're a mining company, because the actual running of the machinery, whilst only one part of it and a very important part of it, but you can't take that on its own. You've got to be able to acquire ground or gain access to ground, which comes down to all your research and dealing with companies. You've got to be able to manage tenements and all the various loopholes and problems that can cause. The paperwork with program the works, and on and on and on it goes. Getting the gold is just the end result of being able to do all that other crap. And that's actually one of the reasons that I like prospecting still, is that mentally I find it very challenging, because there's just so much to do. Sitting here feeding tiny is something anyone can do, to a point. But it's all the other stuff that, if you don't get that right, well, you're not going to be doing any of this stuff. It's just about time for me to jump off and double check I'm happy with the airflow and everything. It's a bit of constant monitoring. We'll see how it's all running. See you, prospectors.